The great hall of the Galactic Conclave buzzed with the sounds of 20 different species talking at once. Light from 3 suns poured through the crystal dome above, casting colorful shadows across the round table. The table was big enough for 30 representatives, but only 29 chairs were filled. The human chair sat empty. Alan Carter walked through the tall doors at the back of the hall. He was 10 minutes late. This was on purpose. The other aliens turned to look at him with their many eyes. Some had 2 eyes like humans. Others had 6 or 8, or none at all. "The Earth representative finally joins us," said High Minister Zoltak. His blue skin glowed with anger. "How kind of you to make time for us." Alan nodded but said nothing. He took his seat at the table. It was smaller than the others, with a lower back. Humans had been part of the conclave for 50 years, but they were still treated like children. "Now that everyone is here, we can vote on the new mining treaty," said Zoltak. "All in favor of the terms as written." 27 hands, claws, and tentacles rose into the air. Alan kept his hand down. So did the representative from Nox, a small world like Earth. Zoltak smiled with his wide mouth. "The treaty passes. Earth and Nox will comply with the new rules." Alan looked at the document on his screen. The new treaty gave most of the mining rights in Earth's solar system to the Phyrexians. Humans would have to pay to mine their own asteroids. They would have to give half of what they found to the conclave. "Earth wishes to speak," said Alan. Zoltak looked at the time. "You have 30 seconds, Earth representative." The other aliens laughed quietly. They always did this. They gave humans just enough time to say nothing important. Alan stood up slowly. He was a tall man for a human, but still shorter than most of the aliens. He removed his translator earpiece and set it on the table. "Humanity withdraws from negotiations," he said clearly in English. The room went silent. The translator devices still worked, so everyone understood his words. But no one understood what he meant. Alan turned and walked toward the doors. "What do you mean, withdraws?" asked the Phyrexian representative. Her silver face showed no emotion, but her voice was sharp. Alan did not answer. He kept walking. "You cannot withdraw," said Zoltak. "The vote is complete. The treaty is binding." Alan reached the doors. He stopped and turned around. "Not for us," he said. Then he walked out. Back in the Earth Embassy, Alan found Susan Miller waiting for him. She was the Earth Defense Minister, visiting the conclave world for the first time. "How did they take it?" she asked. "They don't understand yet," said Alan. "In 300 years, no species has ever walked away from the conclave." Susan smiled. "Then they don't know what's coming next." Alan's computer chimed. "The messages are starting already," he said. "The conclave wants an explanation." "Let them wait," said Susan. "For 50 years, they've treated us like children. They've taken our resources, limited our growth, and talked over us at every meeting. Now it's our turn to talk, and we'll do it from a position of strength." Outside the embassy windows, the 3 suns were setting. The city lights came on, making the alien world look like a field of stars. "Send the signal," said Susan. "Tell them to begin." Alan pressed his palm to the computer screen. A simple message went out. "Traveling faster than light to Earth. The table is abandoned. Lighthouse is green." In the next room, embassy staff were packing up, loading important documents and equipment into boxes. A few were erasing computer records. No one was answering the constant calls from the conclave. "How long do we have?" asked Alan. 3 days before they vote on sanctions," said Susan. 1 week before they send ships to Earth. By then, it won't matter." Alan looked out at the alien city one last time. "Do you think they'll ever understand why we did this?" Susan shook her head. "They think we're just angry. They think we'll come back begging once we realize we need them. They have no idea that humanity has outgrown their table. We're building our own." Outside the embassy, a crowd of aliens was gathering. Some were reporters, others were government officials. All wanted answers that would not come. The galaxy watched in confusion as humanity abandoned the table. Soon, that confusion would turn to terror. Susan Miller had fought for this plan for years. In meeting after meeting with the United Earth government, she had shown them the facts. The Conclave was slowly draining Earth of its resources. They were keeping humans from advancing too quickly. They wanted Earth to stay weak. They think our politeness is weakness, she had told President Laura Wilson 5 years ago. We need to show them we can walk away. Now, 3 days after Ambassador Carter had left the conclave table, Susan stood in a secret room deep under the Rocky Mountains. The walls were covered with screens showing different parts of the solar system. One large screen in the center showed the conclave headquarters world. "They're holding their vote on sanctions today," said Paul Harris, her assistant. He was young but smart. He had never believed the conclave wanted to help humanity. "Right on time," said Susan. "And our preparations?" "Everything is ready," said Paul. He touched a screen, and it changed to show the dark side of the moon. What looked like empty space was actually full of hidden shipyards. The newest stealth technology kept them invisible to conclave monitoring systems. "The Luna shipyards are at full production," said Paul. "Mars facilities are online too. We've been building ships for 15 years without them knowing." Susan nodded. "And the Jupiter defense grid?" Paul changed the screen again. Around the largest planet in the solar system, tiny dots moved in careful patterns. Each dot was a ship, built in secret, trained in secret. "Commander Johnson reports all ships are in position," said Paul. "The Fifth Fleet is ready." Susan smiled. "And the conclave still thinks we only have a few old ships for local defense." On another screen, a message appeared. It was from the conclave. It was the 5th message today. The conclave was getting worried about Earth's silence. "Should we answer them this time?" asked Paul. Susan shook her head. "No, let them worry. Let them wonder. The silence is part of our plan." In the same mountain base, but many levels down, Jack Foster worked with a team of scientists. They stood around a strange metal ring. The ring was 30 feet across and filled with shifting blue light. "How's the new drive coming?" asked Susan as she entered the lab. Jack looked up from his computer. "It's stable now. We can make the jump whenever you give the word." Susan walked closer to the ring. This was humanity's greatest secret. For 20 years, they had been working on their own version of faster-than-light travel. The conclave controlled all the jump gates between star systems. This made Earth dependent on them for all space travel. But not anymore. "Once we show this to the galaxy, everything changes," said Susan. Jack nodded. "The conclave won't be able to control where we go or what we do. We'll be truly free." Susan's phone made a soft sound. It was a message from President Wilson. The conclave had voted. As expected, they had approved sanctions against Earth. Trade would be stopped. Earth would be isolated until they returned to the table. "They still don't understand," said Susan. "They think we need them." On the conclave world, the alien representatives were confused by Earth's silence. They had sent many messages, they had made threats, but there was no response. "This behavior is without precedent," said High Minister Zoltak to the Security Council. "No species has ever simply ignored the conclave." "Perhaps they do not understand the seriousness of their actions," said the Vrixian representative. "They are a young species. Or perhaps they are planning something," said the representative from Nox, the only other world that had voted against the mining treaty. "Humans are quiet when they are thinking deeply." "Nonsense," said Zoltak. "What could they be planning? Their technology is basic. Their ships are few. They need our jump gates to travel between stars." "Then why have they evacuated all their embassies?" asked the Nox representative. "Why have all human ships returned to their solar system in the past 3 days?" Zoltak had no answer for this. It was true. Across the galaxy, human diplomatic buildings stood empty. No humans could be found on any conclave world. "Send observation ships to Earth. ordered Zoltak finally. "We must see what they are doing." But it was already too late. The humans had been preparing for this day for years. The galaxy had been watching the wrong things. They had been listening to human words, not watching human hands. And those hands had been very busy indeed. Frank Johnson stood on the bridge of the EDF Resilience, the largest ship humanity had ever built. At just over 1 mile long, it was still small compared to the massive Conclave warships. But size wasn't everything. "Status report," said Frank to his crew. The bridge was quiet and professional. These men and women had trained for years for this moment. "All ships in position near Jupiter, sir," said Linda Parker, his second in command. "Stealth systems are working perfectly. Conclave sensors show this area as empty space." Frank nodded and looked at the main screen. It showed nearly 200 ships spread out around Jupiter, the Fifth Fleet, the pride of Earth, a fleet that officially did not exist. "Any word from Earth?" he asked. Linda checked her screen. "Yes, sir. Defense Minister Miller says the Conclave has voted for sanctions. They're sending 3 observation fleets to our solar system." Frank smiled slightly. "Right on time. They're so predictable." In another part of the galaxy, far from Earth, the consequences of humanity's silence were already being felt. On the trading world of Nexus, the Ataxian Trade Guild had called an emergency meeting. Guildmaster Phobos pounded his hard fist on the table. "This is outrageous. The humans have stopped all shipments without warning. We have warehouses waiting for Earth metals. We have factories waiting for Earth workers." The other guild members murmured in agreement. Humans were only a small part of galactic trade, but they were important in certain areas. They provided rare metals that were hard to find elsewhere. They also provided skilled workers for delicate jobs that required small fingers and good eyes. "The Conclave says the humans are being irrational," said one guild member. "They say humans are only hurting themselves with this action." "Nonsense," said a new voice. All heads turned to look at Merchant Princess Ixora. She was from the Pellerin Consortium, a group that often worked with humans. She was older and wiser than most in the room. "The humans are not being irrational," she said. "They are sending a message. They are showing us they no longer need our approval." "What do you mean?" asked Phobos. Ixora's eyes narrowed. "Think about it. They've pulled back all their people from every world. They've stopped all trade. They've gone silent. These are not the actions of a species having a temper tantrum. These are the actions of a species preparing for something big." The room went quiet as everyone thought about her words. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Laura Wilson stood before a bank of cameras. She was about to make the most important speech in human history. "People of Earth," she began, "for 50 years, we have been part of the Galactic Conclave. We joined with hope and excitement, ready to learn from older species and share in the wonders of the galaxy." Her face grew serious. "But we soon learned that the Conclave did not see us as equals. They saw us as children. They gave us a smaller chair at their table. They talked over us. They took our resources. They limited where we could go and what we could do." Behind her, a large screen showed images of Earth's secret projects, hidden shipyards on the moon, advanced defense systems, the new faster-than-light drive. "Today, we reveal our true capabilities," said President Wilson. "For 20 years, we have been preparing for independence. We have built ships and weapons the Conclave knows nothing about. We have developed our own jump drive, free from Conclave control." The camera zoomed in on her face. "We did not want conflict. We still don't, but we will no longer accept being treated as less than equals. From this day forward, humanity stands on its own." As she spoke, across the galaxy, human diplomatic compounds were being emptied. Staff loaded the last important items onto ships. They left nothing behind that could be useful to the Conclave. On 37 different worlds, alien neighbors watched in confusion as humans who had lived among them for years suddenly packed up and left. Shops closed, houses emptied, Human sections of alien cities became ghost towns overnight. The ripples of humanity's decision were spreading through the galaxy, causing confusion and fear. No one understood what was happening. No one except the humans themselves. And they weren't talking. The Conclave Security Council met in an emergency session. The huge room was filled with the most powerful representatives of the galaxy's strongest species. They sat at a large U-shaped table, facing screens that showed images of Earth. "What are we seeing?" asked High Minister Zoltak. His blue skin had turned almost gray with worry. General Drax of the Zoltar Imperium leaned forward. "The humans have hidden shipyards on their moon. They have defense systems around their planets. They have ships near their outer planet, Jupiter." "How many ships?" asked another representative. "Hundreds," said General Drax. "Far more than we thought they could build." The room filled with nervous whispers. The Conclave had always known humans were good builders, but they had kept a close watch on Earth's space program, or so they thought. "How did they hide this from us?" asked Zoltak. "Stealth technology," said General Drax. "Very advanced. Our sensors see nothing until they want us to see it." On the main screen, new images appeared. Around Earth, a shield of energy was now visible. It covered the entire planet in a soft blue glow. "And that?" asked Zoltak, pointing at the shield. "A planetary defense system," said General Drax. "Far beyond what we thought humans could build. It would take our strongest weapons days to break through." The Alani representative, Ambassador Lyra, spoke up. She was from one of the oldest species in the galaxy. "We have underestimated the humans. We thought their politeness was weakness. We were wrong." "That's not all," said General Drax. He showed another image. It was a large metal ring with blue light inside it. "They have built their own jump drive. They no longer need our gates to travel between stars." The room went completely silent. This was the worst news of all. The Conclave controlled all faster-than-light travel through their network of jump gates. This gave them power over all other species. If humans could travel without using these gates, they were truly free from Conclave control. "We must act now," said General Drax. "Send peacekeeping fleets to Earth. Show them our strength." Ambassador Lyra shook her head. "We should talk to them first. Find out what they want." "What they want is clear," said Zoltak. "They want to break the rules. They want to do whatever they wish without our guidance. We cannot allow this." The vote was quick. 3 Conclave fleets would be sent to Earth. They would surround the planet and demand that humans return to the Conclave system. Back on the EDF Resilience, Commander Frank Johnson received the alert from Earth's long-range sensors. 3 Conclave fleets heading our way," he said to Linda. "Right on schedule." Linda checked her screen. "They'll reach the outer solar system in about 6 hours. What are our orders?" Frank smiled. "Operation Lighthouse is a go." Throughout the fleet, crews prepared their ships. They weren't nervous. They had trained for this moment for years. "Will they attack us?" asked a young officer. "No," said Frank. "They'll try to scare us first. They'll surround Earth with their biggest ships. They'll make threats. They think we'll get scared and give in." "And when we don't?" asked the officer. "Then we show them what humanity can really do," said Frank. On Earth, in the underground command center, Susan Miller watched the approaching Conclave fleets on her screens. President Wilson stood beside her. "Are you sure about this?" asked the president. "Once we do this, there's no going back." Susan nodded. "We've been planning this for 20 years. We've thought of everything. The Conclave needs to learn that humanity will not be pushed around anymore." President Wilson touched a button on the table. A secure line opened to all human ships in the solar system. "This is President Wilson to all Earth forces," she said. "The Conclave fleets are approaching. They think they're coming to discipline us, to force us back into our place." She paused, looking at Susan, who nodded encouragingly. "But humanity has no place at their table anymore," continued the president. We built our own table. Operation Lighthouse is now active. Show them who we really are. Across the solar system, human ships moved into position. On Earth, defense systems powered up. The time for hiding was over. The time for showing their true strength had come. The galaxy had watched in confusion as humanity abandoned the table. Now they would watch in terror as humanity revealed its power. The first Conclave fleet entered the outer edge of the solar system. It was led by Admiral Cragg of the Zoltar Imperium. His flagship was massive, nearly 5 miles long, with weapons that could destroy a small moon. 20 other ships followed behind it, each powerful enough to conquer a planet. "Scan the area," ordered Admiral Cragg. "Find the human ships." His crew worked at their stations. The bridge of the flagship was crowded with the best officers in the Conclave forces. "No ships detected," Admiral said, his second in command. "The humans must be hiding in their inner system." Admiral Cragg snorted. "Typical. They talk big but hide when real power arrives. Move us toward their planet." The fleet moved deeper into the solar system. They passed the frozen dwarf planet Pluto, then the ice giants Neptune and Uranus. Still, they saw no human ships. "This is strange," said Admiral Cragg. "Our spies said they had ships near the planet Jupiter." "Perhaps they retreated when they detected our approach," suggested his second. Admiral Cragg was about to agree when the sensors officer shouted, "Energy spike. Something's happening ahead of us." A point of blue light appeared in front of the fleet. It started small but grew quickly. Soon it was a spinning blue disk of energy, 30 feet across. "What is that?" demanded Admiral Cragg. Before anyone could answer, all the power on the flagship went out. The engines stopped. The weapons systems died. Even the life support began to fail. Emergency lights came on, casting a dim red glow over the bridge. The same thing was happening to every ship in the fleet. 21 of the most powerful ships in the galaxy were now drifting helplessly in space. A small human ship appeared from the blue energy disk. It was tiny compared to the Conclave flagship, no bigger than a local transport. It moved closer until it was just outside the flagship's main viewing window. A face appeared on the emergency communication screen. It was a human male with short gray hair and calm eyes. "This is Captain George Wilson of the Earth Defense Force," he said. "Your ships have been temporarily disabled. You are not being attacked. This is just a demonstration." Admiral Cragg's face turned dark with anger. "What have you done to my ships? Return power immediately or face the consequences." Captain Wilson smiled slightly. "In 30 minutes, your ships will have full power again. We could have destroyed this fleet. Instead, we chose to show restraint." "How dare you?" shouted Admiral Cragg. "The Conclave will not stand for this insult." "This is not an insult," said Captain Wilson. "This is a request for mutual respect. Humanity is willing to have relations with the Conclave, but only as equals. The days of treating us like children are over." With that, the small human ship turned and disappeared back into the blue energy disk. The disk closed behind it, leaving no trace. Similar scenes played out with the other 2 Conclave fleets. Each was disabled at different entry points to the solar system. Each received the same message from a small human ship. When power returned to the ships, exactly 30 minutes later, the 3 fleet admirals spoke to each other over their communication systems. "How did they do this?" asked one. "What technology can disable an entire fleet without firing a shot?" asked another. Admiral Cragg had no answers, only anger. "We must report this to the Conclave immediately. The humans have weapons we have never seen before." When the recordings of these encounters reached the Conclave headquarters, panic spread quickly. The most powerful ships in the galaxy had been rendered helpless by human technology. Technology that the Conclave didn't understand and couldn't defend against. In an emergency session of the full Conclave, High Minister Zoltak tried to maintain calm. "We still have more ships. We can send larger fleets. We can overwhelm them with numbers." Ambassador Lyra of the Elani shook her head. "That would be foolish. The humans showed restraint today. They disabled our ships but harmed no one. If we push them further, they might not be so merciful next time. What do you suggest? Asked Zoltak, his voice tight with frustration. We must accept reality, said Lyra. The humans are more advanced than we thought. We must approach them with respect, not threats. But it was too late for that. The galaxy had seen what happened to the Conclave fleets. Word spread quickly from world to world. The humans, once thought of as a simple, minor species, had revealed technology that made the Conclave's greatest warships look like toys. Fear began to spread. What else were the humans hiding? What would they do next? 6 months passed since humanity showed its power to the Conclave fleets. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Karen Lee stood on the bridge of the trading ship Earth Venture. It was docked at the space station orbiting the planet Terrace, far from Earth. The station was busy with ships from many different worlds. Final cargo loaded, Captain, said her first officer, Joe Bennett. We're ready to depart. Karen nodded. Set course for Nox. Standard speed. As the Earth Venture pulled away from the station, other ships moved aside to give it room. 6 months ago, human ships were treated as unimportant. Now, everyone gave them plenty of space. The Earth Venture was one of hundreds of human trading ships, now traveling freely across the galaxy. They didn't use Conclave jump gates. They used their own jump drives, appearing and disappearing where they wanted. They charged half what Conclave ships charged for moving cargo. Many worlds that had struggled under Conclave trade rules now did business with humans instead. Message coming in from Nox, said Joe. They're very happy we're bringing the medical supplies. The Conclave has been blocking their shipments for months. Karen wasn't surprised. The Conclave was trying to punish any world that worked with humans. It wasn't working. More and more worlds were choosing to trade with Earth. Tell them we'll be there in 2 days, she said. Much faster than any Conclave ship could make the trip. On the agricultural world of New Hope, Amy Rodriguez walked through fields of tall blue plants. They were like corn but with thicker stalks and larger seeds. Local farmers followed her, listening carefully to her every word. The soil here is perfect for this crop, Amy explained. With earth farming methods, you can get 4 times more food from the same land. The lead farmer, a tall alien with 4 arms, looked worried. But the Conclave says we can only grow what they approve. They say your methods break the rules. Amy smiled. The Conclave rules were designed to keep worlds dependent on them. Earth doesn't want to control you. We want to help you grow your own food and make your own choices. The farmer thought for a moment, then nodded. We will try your methods. My people are hungry. The Conclave taxes take too much of what we grow. This scene was playing out on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Humans shared their technology, their farming methods, their medical knowledge. They asked for fair trade in return, not control. Back at Conclave headquarters, the mood was dark. High Minister Zoltak faced an angry group of representatives. Something must be done about the humans, said the Vrixian representative. They are breaking all our rules. They travel without using our jump gates. They trade with worlds directly, ignoring our taxes. What would you have me do? Asked Zoltak. Our ships cannot stop them. Our weapons cannot harm them. They're turning worlds against us, said another representative, showing them ways to grow more food, to build better machines, to heal their sick without Conclave medicines. Ambassador Lyra spoke up. Perhaps we should consider that the humans are not the problem. Perhaps our rules are the problem. The room went silent. No one had ever suggested that Conclave rules might be wrong. Explain yourself, said Zoltak. For centuries, we have controlled other species through our jump gates, our taxes, our technology, said Lyra. We tell ourselves we are guiding them, but we are really just keeping them dependent on us. She looked around the room. The humans show another way is possible. Equal trade, shared knowledge, mutual respect. Many worlds find this more appealing than our system of control. That is dangerous talk, said Zoltak. "The Conclave system maintains order in the galaxy." "Does it?" asked Lyra. "Or does it just maintain our power over others?" On Earth, President Wilson received reports from human ships across the galaxy. Things were going better than expected. Many worlds were eager to work with Earth once they saw the benefits. "Should we respond to the latest Conclave message?" asked an aide. "They want to discuss our return to the galactic community." President Wilson shook her head. "Not yet. They still don't understand. We haven't left the galactic community. We've just changed the rules of engagement." The aide nodded. "The new coalition is growing. 10 worlds have now signed agreements with us outside the Conclave system." "Good," said the president. "When we have 20 worlds, then we'll be ready for the next step." 1 year had passed since humanity abandoned the Conclave table. The galaxy had changed more in that year than in the previous century. In the busy spaceport of Nexus Prime, Bill Cooper supervised the loading of Earth goods onto alien ships. The warehouse was huge, filled with boxes of Earth medicines, seeds, and technology. "Is that the last shipment for Trellis?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, sir," she replied. "They're especially happy with the water purifiers. Their people have been sick for years from bad water." Bill nodded. The Conclave could have given them purifiers decades ago. But clean water doesn't keep people dependent. That was the difference between humanity's approach and the Conclave's. Humans gave other worlds the tools to solve their own problems. The Conclave gave just enough help to keep worlds needing more. Now 23 worlds had signed agreements with Earth. They formed a new coalition called the Free Worlds Alliance. Each world had an equal vote. No world could tell another what to do on their own planet. Trade between these worlds flowed freely. Knowledge was shared openly. Ships traveled without paying Conclave taxes or using Conclave jump gates. On the desert world of Kairos, human engineers worked side by side with local builders. They were constructing a huge solar power station. Once finished, it would provide cheap energy to the entire main city. The Conclave said this was impossible, said the head of Kairos Engineering, a tall, thin alien with golden skin. They said our sun was too weak for solar power. They were wrong, said Ned Wilson, the head human engineer. Your sun is perfect for our new solar panels. They just didn't want you to have your own power source. The alien nodded slowly. They wanted us to keep buying energy crystals from them, at prices we could barely afford. This was happening on many worlds now. Humans shared technology that freed planets from Conclave control, not advanced military technology. Earth kept that secret, but practical technology that improved daily life and reduced dependence on the Conclave. On the Conclave headquarters world, the once powerful government was in crisis. More than a quarter of their member worlds had joined the Free Worlds Alliance. Conclave taxes were down. Conclave power was shrinking. "We must stop this human infection from spreading," said High Minister Zoltak. His blue skin was now pale with stress and age. "How?" asked another minister. "We cannot fight them. We tried threats. We tried sanctions. Nothing works." "We could offer them a better position in the Conclave," suggested another. "A bigger chair at our table. More voting power." Ambassador Lyra of the Eleni laughed bitterly. "You still don't understand. The humans don't want a better chair at our table. They built their own table, where everyone sits at the same height." High Minister Zoltak was about to respond when an aide rushed into the chamber. "Ministers, a human ship has appeared in orbit around our world." The room went silent. No unauthorized ships were allowed near the Conclave headquarters world. The defense system should have stopped any ship from approaching. "Just one ship?" asked Zoltak. "Yes, Minister. It's broadcasting a message. The human ambassador Carter wishes to address the Conclave." For a moment, no one spoke. Alan Carter, the ambassador who had walked away from the Conclave table a year ago, wanted to return. "Is this surrender?" asked one minister hopefully. "I doubt it," said Lyra. "But we should hear what he has to say." On board the Earth diplomatic vessel Freedom, Ambassador Alan Carter prepared to return to the conclave chamber. His assistant looked nervous. "Are you sure about this, sir? The last time you were here." "The last time I was here, I represented a humanity that was tired of being pushed around," said Alan. "Now I represent a humanity that has changed the galaxy." "What if they reject our offer?" asked the assistant. Alan smiled. "They won't. They can't afford to. The old way is dying. They can join us in building something better, or they can fade away." The shuttle took them down to the surface. As they approached the conclave building, Alan saw a crowd gathered outside. Representatives from hundreds of worlds waited to hear what humanity would say. This time, he wouldn't be given 30 seconds to speak. This time, the galaxy would listen to every word. The great hall of the Galactic Conclave was more crowded than it had ever been. Representatives from hundreds of worlds packed the room. Some had traveled for weeks to be here. All wanted to see what the humans would do. High Minister Zoltak sat at the center of the conclave table. He looked old and tired. Beside him, other ministers whispered nervously to each other. The doors at the back of the hall opened. Ambassador Alan Carter walked in, followed by a small team of humans. They walked with confidence, their backs straight, their eyes forward. This time, no one commented on Alan being late. No one dared. Alan took his position at the speaker's podium. The room fell completely silent. "1 year ago, I stood in this room and said 4 words. Humanity withdraws from negotiations," began Alan. "Today, I returned with a different message." He paused, looking around the room. Many of the representatives couldn't meet his eyes. "Humanity is prepared to return to galactic diplomacy," said Alan, "not as supplicants, but as equals." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Was humanity surrendering? Were they coming back to the conclave? "We do not come to rejoin the conclave as it exists today," continued Alan. "We come to offer an alternative." He pressed a button on the podium. Holographic displays appeared around the room. They showed images of the Free Worlds Alliance planets, happy people of different species working together, new cities being built, green farms where deserts had been. For the past year, 23 worlds have worked with Earth outside the conclave system, said Alan. Each world has equal say in decisions that affect them all. None rules over the others. He showed more images, new medical technology that cured diseases the conclave had called untreatable, clean energy systems that freed worlds from buying expensive conclave fuel, ships traveling through space using the human jump drive. "This is what true cooperation looks like," said Alan. "Not control disguised as guidance, not dependence disguised as help, real partnership that benefits everyone." High Minister Zoltak stood up. "What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador Carter?" "We invite the conclave to dissolve itself and join the Free Worlds Alliance," said Alan simply. Gasps filled the room. The humans weren't surrendering. They were asking the most powerful organization in the galaxy to surrender to them. "That is impossible," sputtered Zoltak. "The conclave has maintained order for 300 years. "The conclave has maintained inequality for 300 years, corrected Alan. "It has kept advanced worlds powerful and developing worlds dependent. That time is over." "And if we refuse?" asked Zoltak. "Then the Free Worlds Alliance will continue to grow," said Alan. "More of your members will join us. Your power will shrink. Your relevance will fade. We will proceed either way." As he finished speaking, reports began flooding in from across conclave space. Hundreds of human ships had appeared near major conclave worlds, not with weapons ready, but simply showing they could be anywhere, anytime. Ambassador Lyra of the Alani stood up. "I move that we take this proposal seriously. The humans have shown they have the power to back their words. They have also shown restraint. They could have attacked us. Instead, they offer partnership." Other representatives began to nod. Some stood to join Lyra. "This is the end of the conclave as we know it," said Zoltak sadly. "No," said Alan. "It's the beginning of something better. A galaxy where all species work together as equals, where knowledge is shared, not hoarded, where strength protects, not oppresses. He looked around the room one more time. The choice is yours. Join us at a new table where all voices carry equal weight, or cling to the old power structures that benefit few at the expense of many. In the days that followed, the conclave chamber was filled with debate. Some representatives fought to keep the old system. Others embraced the chance for change. One by one, worlds made their choice. Most chose to join the Free Worlds Alliance. Some held back, watching carefully before deciding. The galaxy had watched in terror as humanity abandoned the table. Now they watched in hope as humanity built a better one, where everyone sat together as equals.